What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another CD collection update. I almost forgot what I was doing, but whatever. Yeah, it's been a little while. It's been quite a while since I've done a CD collection update, and that's mostly because I got kind of lazy trying to do this update because I was just like, I was kind of burnt out on doing the updates for a little bit, but luckily I had a stack ready to go, and I am currently working on another stack for the next update. But principally, most of the CDs that you're going to see in this update are things that I bought while I was in Cincinnati shortly after Christmas. So this was like mostly after Christmas shopping I did, as well as a few CDs that I bought over the past month or so, on and off. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to kick off with a pair from Arcturus. We have their debut album, Aspera, Hiems, Synferia, and their fifth and most recent album, Arcturian. Of course, these are two albums from this legendary Norwegian supergroup that features current and former members of bands like Mayhem, Borknagar, Dimmu Borgir, Olver, Mortem, amongst many other Norwegian bands, mostly centered around black metal. And these are two vastly different albums. Like this one, the debut, this one I think came out in '96, and this was mostly, excuse me, mostly black metal with little touches of like avant-garde and a little bit of prog, kind of like the early beginnings of their career, but still mostly black metal centric. And this was also back when they had Garm from Olver as their vocalist. So very different vocal approach in which both sides of his voice are really good. The cleans and his screams, and of course the songwriting's really good in its own right too. So very cool early beginnings for this legendary supergroup. Now with Arcturian, this one came out in 2015, so it's been 10 years since we've had an Arcturus album. I would love to hear some new stuff, but this is vastly different from the debut. Gone, for the most part, is the black metal, and more towards avant-garde metal and progressive metal, and touches of symphonic metal too. But yeah, this album, it's just got loads of beautiful melodies, great riffs, awesome songwriting, and also this features ICS Vortex from Borknagar and formerly of Dimmu Borgir on vocals, and of course, much bigger voice and more bombastic sound overall. So yeah, really both of these albums are really cool, and I just need to get the other three Arcturus albums and I would have everything they have. But if you love, I would say the big band to compare Arcturus to would be Borknagar. If you love Borknagar, chances are you will dig Arcturus. So check them out. Alright, next up we have Carnal Savagery with Graveworms, Cadavers, Coffins, and Bones. This is the 6th studio full-length from this Swedish death metal band. Now, I'll be honest, I forgot this even came out, because I reviewed the album prior to this, which came out in early 2024. This one came out at the end of November, but I think the reason I didn't get around to it is because there was just so many other things ahead of it, and I forgot this was even happening. So, yeah, 2 albums in 1 year from this band, and I will say this one is pretty much on par with the album that came out before. It's just raw, nasty, old-school Swedish death metal, and it just pretty much hits on all the tropes that I love of Swedish death metal, as well as some aspects of American death metal, kind of bringing in more of that like bloodbath vibe than anything else, because there's some cool groove going on here. But yeah, nothing more really need to say about this other than it's just another killer release. So if you, of course, are a fan of, Entomb, Dismember, Grave, Bloodbath, any Swedish death metal band or any death metal band using HM2 tones, definitely check this out. Next up we have Death Angel, The Dream Calls for Blood. This is the 7th album, I believe, from this legendary Bay Area thrash band. Of course, I've been needing to get more Death Angel in my collection, because for the most part I only have had like the last 2 as well as the debut. But when I saw this at the record store I went to in Cincinnati, I'm like, I might as well get it. And plus, this is the deluxe edition that comes with the documentary, which I haven't watched yet. I do plan on watching it at some point. But again, this was the album, I think, that came out right before Evil Divide, which I think really put the band back on the map proper. Even though you had quite a few albums prior to Evil Divide like this one, but still, this is a great like precursor to where they are now. I mean, awesome songs top to bottom. Of course, Death Angel, one of the most underrated thrash bands of all time. And yeah, I definitely do plan on getting most of the rest of their albums. I think I might skip Frolic Through the Park, maybe. I don't know, unless I find it cheap somewhere. I don't know if I'll get that. I do think that album's just too strange. But yeah, this is just more killer Bay Area thrash from these legendary melodic titans. So yeah, check it out if you haven't. Back to more thrash, we have Deathrow, Raging Steel. This is the second album from this German thrash metal band, and of course, this is actually a reissue by Sanctuary Records and Noise Records and BMG. So Deathrow is like one of those forgotten thrash bands from Germany, because, you know, in the whole German thrash scene, you get the bands that get the most chatter, obviously, are the big three of Creator, Sodom, Destruction. Yeah, Tankard, and also Exhumer, and perhaps even bands like Holy Moses. But Deathrow, I think, is a very underrated one. And this album came out in, I want to say, 87, I believe. And this is just like raw, nasty German thrash that at times borders on speed metal a little bit with how loose it is. I mean, like the title track itself, it is just a barn burner of riffs and just chaos and looseness and grit. Yeah, top to bottom, this is also some really killer German thrash from, I would say, one of the scene's most underrated bands out there. So I would say the easiest bands to compare this to, the easiest ones I would say would be Creator, Sodom, Destruction, Exhumer, Tankard. So yeah, definitely check this out if you love German thrash. Excuse me. Next up we have Emperor 9, Equilibrium. This is the third studio full-length from this legendary Norwegian symphonic black metal band. Of course, I've been still needing to get more Emperor, and I think I'm only missing the last one, Prometheus, Discipline of Fire and Demise. That's the only full-length I am missing from Emperor. I have Nightside Eclipse and Anthems to the Welkin at Dusk. I found this at the record shop, and I'm like, I gotta get it. And this is, again, just some great examples of awesome Norwegian black metal / symphonic black metal. I mean, right off the rip with Curse You All Men, it just really propels this album in a big way. And of course, this is when the band transitioned to a three-piece, I believe, where they might have just stayed a three-piece after Anthems with Ishan, Samoth, and Trim. And yeah, it's just awesome, awesome stuff right here. Of course, like I said, I'm only missing Prometheus, and once I get that, I'd have everything Emperor. Well, I might get the Wrath of the Tyrant compilation for the early stuff, but still, 9, Equilibrium, I would say in terms of their most underrated album in their 4-disc discography, this would probably be the most underrated. But still, it's awesome stuff. You can't go wrong with Emperor. They're arguably the greatest black metal band in Norwegian black metal history. But yeah, check it out. Excuse me, again. I swear my voice just wants to go away. I look forward to the reaction of this one. Evanescence, Fallen. This is the debut album from this Arkansas gothic metal / alternative metal band. Yeah, I know a lot of people like to turn their noses up at Evanescence because they became mainstream darlings almost immediately. But I got this because it was cheap. I bought it at Walmart, but it's kind of a nostalgia choice. It's kind of like the first Drowning Pool album I have. It's the nostalgia. I grew up during this era, and of course, Bring Me to Life. I know some people are tired of that song. I can understand it. I don't listen to it as much anymore, but it's still a legit really good song. My Immortal, this dark gothic dirge, Everybody's Fool, Going Under, Tourniquet. There are some really good songs on here, regardless of how you feel about Evanescence. One thing you can't take away from them is the fact that Amy Lee is what am I talking about? Is legit one of the best female vocalists out there. She definitely has a powerful range, and also still looks fantastic to this day, and sounds great too, and just super talented. So, yeah, if you love, your early mid-2000s gothic alternative metal, I would say check this out. I'm sure a lot of people already know about this album. This is a pretty well-known one. But yeah, I basically got out of nostalgia, and it was cheap, but it's still good. I still enjoy it from time to time. Next up, we have Exodus, Exhibit B, The Human Condition. This is the 9th studio full-length from these Bay Area thrash titans, of course. I've already talked about this album at length during my Exodus ranking last year. It is an awesome album. Easily my favorite of the Rob Dukes era Part 1, because we're now in Rob Dukes era Part 2 since he's back in the band, which I'll just go ahead and talk about that while it's on my mind. I'm conflicted because other than Paul Bailoff, Deathrow was my guy when it came to Exodus vocals. I just love his energy. I love his almost Bon Scott type delivery, which I love Bon Scott. It's a shame he's gone, but hopefully Deathrow, he can find some new avenues to make money, which I'd say he will through his podcast and everything. But Rob Dukes ain't bad in his own right. In fact, I would say this was his best performance. And I look forward to hearing what he does on the new album whenever that happens. But back to this, just the Ballad of Leonard and Charles, Downfall, March of the Sycophants, Good Riddance, just awesome songs, top to bottom. I think I had this ranked at number 6 in my Exodus ranking, so it's pretty high up there. But yeah, this is a legit awesome, awesome album, so check it out if you haven't. Next up, talk about a rare find, Intestine Baalism, A Banquet in the Darkness. This is the second album from this Japanese melodic death metal / death metal band. I say that because while it is melodic death metal, it is also brutal at times. If you took melodic death metal and mixed it with elements of Suffocation and Deicide at times. However, this album, I would say, definitely has more of the melodic death metal tropes than even the first album, which I am still trying to find an Anatomy of the Beast. But I was lucky I actually found this. I can't remember where I found it. I think I bought it off Discogs. I could be wrong. I'll have to go back and look. But yeah, this is pretty freaking cool to have some Intestine Baalism. Arguably the most underrated melodic death metal band of all time. But yeah, just this album, it's packed full of aggression, but awesome melodic hooks. Top to bottom, it is just brilliant. I need to get the other 2 albums to complete their collection. But yeah, I would say for sure if you are a fan of At the Gates, Carcass, Edge of Sanity, Dismember, Deicide, Suffocation, you should probably dig Intestine Baalism. This is some killer stuff. Next up, we have Mastodon Crack the Skye 15th Anniversary Edition. So, yeah, I was scouring through the record shop, and I found this, and I thought, you know what? I might as well grab it, because I actually like the slightly more colorful artwork on the edges. It makes it stand out more. But the big reason why I bought this, not just because this is one of my all-time favorite albums, but the second disc, the instrumentals. I'd love to hear the instrumentals of this album. While I do love the vocals, I also do want to hear the music on its own, and it's really cool. I don't need to go into more detail about this album than I've already talked about. It's a masterpiece of prog. If you haven't listened to it, why are you here? Go check it out. Alright, we have now a pair from Necrophobic. We have their 6th album, Death to All, and their 7th album, Womb of Lilithu. So, of course, these are 2 albums from these legendary black and death metalers from Sweden. Of course, for those who don't know, about a month ago, I got to interview their lead guitarist, Sebastian Romstead. It was a great conversation, awesome conversation with him, and if I recall, this one, Womb of Lilithu, was The only one after he joined that he wasn't a part of. I think maybe he guest appeared on here in a spot or two. I'd have to go back and look, whereas he was on this. And these are two very different albums. Like, Death to All is very much like straight up necrophobic, like the black metal mixed with melodic death metal moments. I mean, songs like Temple of Damnation, Wings of Death, Celebration of the Goat, just some really killer songs that are murky and evil, but yet very well done. Womb of Lilithu, I always hear a lot of people say this is the weakest album in their catalog. I can understand that because it does kind of go for a more stripped down songwriting sensibility, like less about the intensity and more towards hooks. But it's still pretty damn good. I don't think it's a bad album at all, but because there will come today, I'm going to be ranking all of Necrophobic's albums. That might be next year. More than likely, it probably will be next year. Just a matter of when I decide to do it. But, yeah, if you love Necrophobic, chances are you already have these two albums. So now, the only things I am missing are Dark Side, Third Antichrist, and the Spawned by Evil compilation. Then I'd have everything from Necrophobic in my collection. So, yeah, check these out if you haven't. Next up we have Oppressor, Agony. This is the second album from this, I think, Illinois-based technical death metal band. I have their first album, Solstice of Oppression, which I think is a monolith of an album. This one, I would say, is just as good. And actually, what's really cool about this particular version, this is the Hammerhard Records reissue. Comes with a second disc of live tracks, a couple of bonus tracks, and even some stuff from their EP, which was demos of I Am Darkness and Valley of Thorns. But yeah, this is just brutal yet catchy melodic technical death metal. Like, very similar to the debut, where it takes the hybrid of like death circa around human individual thought patterns and mix it with Suffocation. And it really works. It really, really works. Like tracks like Passage, Valley of Thorns, Sea of Tears, just awesome songs. I'm only missing Elements of Corrosion, I think is the name of the third album. That's the only one that I'm missing, and then I would have everything from Oppressor. So yeah, check this out if you are a fan of Death, Broken Hope, Suffocation, Disincarnate, I would say is a very good comparison. Check this out. Next up we have Pallbearer, Forgotten Days. This is the fourth studio full-length from these Arkansas doom metal titans that I've grown to really love, especially from that last album. This, again, just somber, beautiful, yet really catchy doom metal with some, like, folky bits here and there. And, I mean, these songs like Riverbed, Stasis, Silver Wings, I mean, it perfectly encapsulates everything about Pallbearer. So actually, I think now I'm only missing the first two Pallbearer albums, and then I would have everything from them. Like I even said, I think in the last album review, as well as my year-end list for 2024, it's Pallbearer and Crypt Sermon that are helping to keep traditional doom here in America alive and well. And this album definitely is proof of that. I don't know if I like it as much as the new one, but it's still fantastic. Awesome. Alright, and now these next three I got in a triple pack at Walmart because it was cheap, and I thought, you know what, screw it, I might as well get some stuff from them. We have all three greatest hits albums from Queen. Of course, the first one, this is the one where you're going to get most of the biggest songs. Bohemian Rhapsody, Another One Bites the Dust, Killer Queen, Bicycle Race, Fat Bottom Girls, We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions. I mean, yeah, those songs are heard on the radio all the time, but they're legit great songs. Can't go wrong. And then the second CD, basically, you know, Innuendo, Under Pressure with David Bowie. I mean, just classic staples. Oops. And then the third album is mostly like collaborations and even some like solo stuff from like Brian May, Freddie Mercury, but also you get like remixes of songs. The Show Must Go On featuring Elton John. Just, again, Queen there's a reason why they're considered one of the greatest bands of all time, and pretty much all these songs prove that on these 3 greatest hits discs. So yeah, if you love Queen, you should definitely get these. These are really, really cool to have. Alright, next up we have Suffocation Blood Oath. If my memory serves me correctly, this was the 6th studio full-length from these guys. And yeah, this one definitely didn't get a high ranking in my Suffocation ranking a couple of years ago. In fact, I think I ranked it dead last. But it's still really good. It's just the problem was the mix. Like, it was really bassy and lots of low end. It just kind of ruined the album for me. But still get some cool tracks like the title track, Pray for Forgiveness, Mental Hemorrhage. Their re-recording of Marital Decimation's pretty cool. So yeah, I basically got this because while it is a good album, I wanted to complete the Suffocation discography finally, and now I have everything Suffocation, even the EPs. So I'm very happy to finally have found this, and it was at a reasonable price. It's still good, I just wish the production would have been better. But yeah, check it out if you love Suffocation. Alright, and then these next 3, these were the latest albums that I got recently, and they are all from Sulphur Aeon. We have the debut album, Swallowed by the Ocean's Tide, the debut album from this German blackened death metal / progressive blackened death metal now. But yeah, I became a huge fan of these guys courtesy of the last album, 7 Crowns, 7 Seals, back in 2023, I think, when that came out. So I was like, I need to get the rest of their catalog, but of course, trying to get them at a reasonable price can be difficult. Thankfully, I found a shop on Discogs from Finland that actually sold them at a reasonable price and decent shipping. Like, I've seen people have to go pay like 30 plus bucks just to even get one album. I managed to get them for like a little over 20 bucks a disc, so that was pretty well worth it. But yeah, this is the raw, nasty beginnings of one of the best upcoming blackened death metal bands out there. I mean, especially the song Incantation on here, just massive, it's epic, just killer stuff top to bottom on this one. And then we have the second album, Gateway to the Antisphere. And of course, one thing that absolutely sticks out with me about this band are these album covers. They're really, really cool. I mean, they all love their H.P. Lovecraft. Doesn't have the track listing on here for whatever reason. But still, top to bottom, it's more killer shit, no doubt. And then the third album, The Scythe of Cosmic Chaos, which I heard this was the album that fans got into this band for, and I can definitely see why. This is gnarly, it's murky, it's evil, like Ugothian Spell, Sinister Sea Sabbath, Lungs into Gills, just awesome stuff. And I would say in terms of album covers, I don't know which one's my favorite because they're all awesome, even the new one. But yeah, I'm glad to finally have everything from Sulphur Aeon, and I can't wait to hear a new album whenever that comes, hopefully next year. But yeah, if you love Behemoth, Morbid Angel, Immolation, Nile, 1914, bands along those lines, I think you'll dig Sulphur Aeon. Alright, we only got a few more left. Next up, Tool, Opiate. This is the debut EP from these California alternative / progressive metal legends that I know are very divisive among fans. But this was their early beginnings, like a little heavier, not as progressive, more towards the alternative metal vibe. I mean, songs like Hush and Jerk Off Alive. Like, just weird titles, obviously, but great songwriting and vocals, obviously. I mean, Hush is the big standout for me on here, even though it's the shortest track. It's pretty catchy and it's pretty fun, so yeah, I'm glad to have finally gotten this EP, so now I do have pretty much legit everything EP and studio full-length wise from Tool, at least until whenever the next album comes, which hopefully we don't have to wait too long for. I mean, we've already waited 6 years now, but Hopefully it's not longer than it has to be. But yeah, check this out. I'm sure a lot of fans already know about this, but still check it out if you haven't. Alright, the penultimate CD we have Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry. This is the third album from these New York heavy metal legends. I know it's been long overdue. Excuse me, long overdue to get this album in my collection. Actually, I still need to get the first two Twisted Sister albums, but still, Stay Hungry, I mean, it's a classic, obviously, for the first three, or for the big three hits. We're Not Gonna Take It, I Wanna Rock, and Burn in Hell. But you also get some really cool deep cuts, like the title track, Captain Howdy, The Beast, The Price. Awesome songs. And of course, you know, this band gets lumped into the whole glam metal thing because of the makeup and the hair. But they didn't look like a typical glam metal band. In fact, they denounced themselves of being glam metal, and I completely agree. They were just straight up heavy metal, like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. Like, they were more new wave of British heavy metal inspired than anything else. And this album certainly has a lot of those kind of tropes. And while the big three hits, you can hear them anytime on the radio or see them on TV, but they're legit awesome tracks. You can't go wrong with them. Plus, they're big anthems for almost anything. So yeah, if you haven't listened to this, please check it out. And then finally, Voivod, Nothingface. This is the 5th studio full-length from this Canadian thrash/progressive metal legend. I mean, I've been needing to get some more Voivod, and this was one of the big albums I was hoping to get. And this is actually a unique one because this is the first time ever I've gotten a Japanese import album, and I actually kind of like them. They're actually pretty well done, even though you got like the Japanese lettering on a lot of this stuff, but it's still really cool to have something that's a bit of a novelty. But still, top to bottom, this is arguably one of the best prog metal albums of all time, and it came out in '89. Like, I remembered getting into this album courtesy of the opening track, The Unknown Knows. That is a fun, catchy, thrashy prog song. But also, their cover of Pink Floyd's Astronomy Domine, or Domine. I don't know how the hell you say that. But also some other great tracks on here too, like Into My Hypercube, the title track, X-Ray Mirror. Again, the top to bottom, it's progressive metal mastery done by a bunch of fans of atonal dissonance and just odd songwriting. But it all works, because it's Voivod. They can do whatever they want, and I won't have a problem with it. Excuse me. But yeah, if you love Voivod, chances are you already have this. But if you don't have it, go get it. It's awesome. And I noticed it was shaking a lot because my arms shake a lot. But anyways, that does it for this update. Like I said, I am in the process of working on the next stack of stuff that I hopefully will be getting here pretty soon. And I can touch on those whenever I get to that point. But anyways, what did you guys think of these albums I got? What's your favorite album out of everything I showed off in this update? But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But until next time, keep your horns high and your dreams wet.